Okay, everyone. I'm going to be starting my second live here. It seems like it's working. And yeah, hopefully this will be useful. The idea of these lives is to, again, offer a bit more insight into the three favorite licks of the week or phrases. This week, again, it's Django. It'll be primarily Django because that's where gypsy jazz begins. I'm not going to say begins and ends because, of course, there's tremendous players around today. But of course, Django is the founder and the initiator and the legend. So it's, I think, very important if you're going to get into the style to really, really dig into Django Reinhardt's phrases and ideas. And essentially, a lot of A major this week. Somehow I didn't plan it, but by looking at these phrases and these licks, so to speak, I hope to help anyone who's looking to improve their improvising and improving their vocabulary and increasing their vocabulary and getting ideas to really work on technique and improvisation in a way that's both fun and also useful. So by not only learning the phrases and actually acquiring them and mastering them, but also looking at the context of where those phrases are played and how I can use those ideas to then use them again in other tunes or add them to my vocabulary, like I said before. Ok, so Geremia carissimo, ciao. Spero che va bene in inglese, ovviamente vado in inglese. Okay. So like I said, a lot of A major this week. And we're going to start with Bolero is a quirky tune. There's this lick in this famous Bolero, not True Blanc Bolero, but Bolero. And the first phrase of this week is the end of a specific phrase that Django plays, which is this one. Once again. And so this really happens on actually B flat minor. It stems from a B flat minor arpeggio. And notice how I played everything here with two fingers. Not necessarily to really want to imitate, so to speak, Django, but because a lot of things are actually a lot easier to play when you just concentrate on the two fingers. So first, second, second, first, and then here I recommend this slide with that second finger to reach that higher octave. But let's get back to the phrase. Essentially, so this first one is nothing but an extension, really, or the high end of this phrase. And then there's this little embellishment. The Django plays, you'll hear him play this in many other tunes as well. And that really encloses all those notes of that arpeggio. Now, why it's a great lick to incorporate is that Django would play this in this part with all downstroke. So this really can help to improve the consecutive downstroke patterns. Right? So we have down, up, down. I recommend down, up, down, down, because then then that last note here on that C sharp will be an upstroke. And that really helps the flow of the phrase. So down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. And then here it's all, this is down, 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 down. Okay? So then you have this sort of group of notes, right? Picked. So and then you transition right into the actual minor arpeggio. And then this slide really allows for you to reach that high note much more conveniently, as opposed to, also because by finishing the phrase it would be troublesome to play this last note. Whereas if I slide with my second finger here, then I'm right where I need to be to finish that phrase. And what I'm using as reference is the last time Django plays this phrase in the tune, which is at the end of the tune, and he plays this alone. Because the first time this comes around, it's the violins or the whole section, right? Okay, so again, this is just an example of how I can take a B flat minor and really embellish it, and play around with the actual notes of the arpeggio and create something interesting. And again, if you're really looking to improve and to increase your ability with the gypsy picking or rest stroke picking, however you want to call it, this is a great phrase to look to incorporate, because again, you're going to have a situation where you have 4 downstrokes in a row. Right? So again, that's going to make you and force you to really, really stay relaxed, loosen your wrist, and bounce after each picking motion in order to really make it a lot smoother. Also, we have a situation where we're doing a double downstrokes in order to facilitate the flow of the phrase, where my last note is going to be an upstroke in one of the parts, in one of the passages. But then here, of course, it's a downstroke. Yes, this is the first of the phrases, and it's just a beautiful phrase that's coming from that. The other day on the Zoom, I do a weekly Zoom also with whoever wants to join, and also we get in depth of this. We went through the chords, so maybe I can do that also. It's kind of useful, just to have the context of the tune. It's so these are the chords, really. I think the basic chords, right? So you have that little intro at the beginning. Where it's basically C and an open G, right? So it's also a very good little warm-up exercise, if you will, to work on those two, really work on the rest strokes and the downstrokes, right? When the tune starts, and you have basically this, it's basically an A diminished, but you can use the open, and it alternates with that A diminished with the E flat that plays, basically, and then of course also the F sharp. So now it's going to go to that F7, but with bass of A, then to F sharp major, right? Then it goes to F sharp major 7 with the inversion, basically the inversion of F sharp major 7, and then it goes to A major, bass of E, and then A7 sharp 5 to A7 flat 5, and you can play this with the thumb, of course, if you prefer, to then resolve to C. Okay, so that's the basic chord progression, right? And then of course, and then there's that section where it goes from C9 to C sharp 9, and then that little phrase, which then leads into that last phrase. Okay. Of course, at any time, if you do have any questions, if you have questions, drop them into the chat. I'm going to kind of go at speed, go as if I'm alone here, but it's cool to see some people around. And yes, if there are any questions at any time, feel free to write. So that would be the first phrase that I would recommend to learn and to practice and to incorporate in any situation where you have a minor chord, right? In this case, B flat minor, but you can really, again, transpose or use this in any situation. It's very windy today. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go close this door, which is banging. So bear with me a second. Wasn't planning on that. All right, I'm back. Sorry for that. Okay, so the next phrase to look at is from the Django's Tiger, which is really interesting how it changed over the years, this tune, because when Django, if you hear Django's version, most people here would go to F, because there's a place where Django plays, the chromatic, or plays this phrase. But Django plays that phrase, but all the while, the actual rhythm section stays on E, never goes to F. But over the years, I guess it was assumed that Django would have liked the F7. Anyway, there's a little quirk there. And if you really listen carefully to the rhythm, it's very interesting how there's no accents, no any kind of. It's just extremely straight and extremely static. Let's just say there's no embellishments, there's no even turnaround accents. It's just straight rhythm. But aside from that, the one phrase that always caught my attention was this phrase over the A7, this thing right here. I love that phrase. It's always stuck in my ear, and I love how it sounds against that E7. And it's a really simple harmonic situation where essentially we're looking at a juxtaposition of F minor 6 played over E7, right? And why does that work, right? Because we have E7. If we look at the tritone, then we're looking at basically A sharp or B flat 7 or 9, but 7 for simplicity. And so what happens that B flat 7 or 9 is also F, exactly F minor. So that's why you can, anytime you have that E7, you can really experiment with using solutions that incorporate the F minor. In this case, minor 6, right? Minor 6 and minor 6/9, really, because we have that G, which is right. So now mechanically on the right hand, it'll be not so simple to learn this because we have a string skip, which is really not the simplest thing to learn, especially when adopting the rest stroke and downstroke picking. So you really want to work on this. And it's subtle because it's hard to really hear this, but Django uses this so much that over the years I've learned to really capture it, and it's quite subtle. Sometimes you can't really hear those approach notes, but if you listen closely and carefully, you can really hear them. And again, it's coming from that F minor 6 arpeggio, right? F minor 6, F minor 9. And so it blends in perfectly with the E7 resolving to A major, right? And so of course there's that whole, now I was playing this and then I went through that whole phrase that leads into it on the video, but I didn't really think of focusing on the rest of the phrase. It was really just for the end part. But of course, a lot of people then wrote and asked about the rest of that phrase. And right there for the end. But essentially, Django's really going through all the chords in this case, right? And here it is basically going from A major to A7. At this point, you can hear it resolve to the D. This is D. Sorry. So basically playing over D major 6, major 6/9. This is of course then going to from the D major 6/9 to the D sharp diminished, which is a very classic resolving back to 1, which is the A major, right? So and then from the back to the A major, right? And then from the A major to the F sharp. Hey, grazie. Thank you, Diego. Super. Glad. And then the chords, where do they go? From the A major, they go to the F sharp 7. So Django's really, really following really chord by chord once again, right? So A major. Right here it goes to that diminished, which is really essentially A7 or B flat diminished. Here it already transitioned to the D major, D diminished, D sharp diminished, A major again, F sharp 7, and then of course it goes into that part where we just talked about. It's essentially E7 to over to A, back to A. Right, so if you want to learn that whole phrase again really slowly. Right, and so here really again, you don't want to sacrifice the rest strokes and the downstrokes. So practice this, of course, very slowly, because you're gonna have to be able to skip that string, the B string, but still rest stroke on the A flat as well as on the G. And that's a bit tricky when you're starting out with the downstrokes and the rest strokes to really keep this concise and precise, and skip that string while also rest stroking, right? Battery is just a second. Gotta get the battery going. There's always. Okay. Right. So again, anytime you have that dominant moving to the resolve to the one, you can always think of using that in terms of moving a half step above the dominant and playing the minor chord, right? So in this case, E7 becomes F minor or F minor 6, and then resolving to A. So you can even use it as chords. You can really steal not only the specific phrase and the specific lick, let's just say, but the overall concept, and then really make it yours. Try experiment in other ways. Okay, so that would be the second idea for this week. It's off of again Django's Tiger, and very first one was Bolero. The last one is again an A major tune, which is Porto Cabello, which is I think one of my many people love this tune, although it never comes up in jams because it's a bit tricky and a bit complicated. And of course, it's a fast tune, or at least the way Django plays it, it's quite fast. So it's a bit of a challenging tune, but there's this one phrase that always jumped out. Django again uses this pattern really everywhere to really, and the concept is using the diatonic scale or a variation of a diatonic scale to embellish a major chord or a major pattern or progression chords. So this is happening again over A major, and this is the phrase. So essentially, what we're highlighting is A major, and it goes to that B flat diminished, then it goes to that B minor, then it goes to that C sharp diminished, to then really resolve to that D, which is again the fourth of A, so it's part of that whole diatonic scale, right? So again, here it's the first part is off of that E7, because the song, of course, A major, E7 are connected, and Django plays this. So really it's, and Django will play this very often, this, or a variation of this, which is basically, E7 or B flat, B minor. But in this case, you'll have this real, you have this situation where you'll have this little trill, basically. And it's very important in this phrase to respect, I guess, the picking directions to be able to play it smoother, right? So you want to be able to make this this C sharp has to be an upstroke, so that then you're going to downstroke on the D, again upstroke on B, and then it'll be much simpler to go through the whole phrase. So right, so that's the first part of the phrase. Make sure you really learn to respect where an upstroke or a downstroke is, especially when you're using this technique, because it'll make things a lot more fluid as you play the phrase. So upstroke on C sharp, downstroke on D, upstroke on B, then it repeats this A flat, right? Okay, then once the A arrives, then this whole pattern comes out. And again, here we have essentially, we're playing along the A major 6, because again, if you look at the major 6/9 chord, we have A, of course, we have the third, which is C sharp, and we have, of course, F sharp. So essentially, you're playing a D major. You could also think of this as D major 7. So D major 7 and A major 6/9 are connected. And again, of course, because the diatonic scale, the D is the fourth of A. So they're part of the same chord scale. Hope this is all making sense. If it isn't, ask questions, but if not, I'm going to keep going. Right? So, and then Django uses this sort of mechanics of it, because the last note again is going to be an upstroke, because then he's going to be using throughout the pattern a pedal of an open D. Right? So sorry. So often Django uses this, where he uses an open string as a connector, I guess, to the whole phrase, that usually helps with the picking and helps with the overall fluidity of the phrase, right? So again, A major 6/9 or D major 7. Now downstroke, hammer on, and then upstroke on the last B flat, so that then I can downstroke on the open D, right? So again, same concept at the end. I'm going to play the diminished here, the B flat diminished. But then there's going to be that last upstroke on B, again to have the open D ring, right? So then it's going to go to B minor. Actually, sorry. Again, open D, and then that whole pattern continues that same way. Where I'm going to end on an upstroke and start on the open D. End on an upstroke, start on the open D, all the way through. And on the very last one, it's very interesting that Django should or could play the A major triad, since that's the key, but he actually instead chooses to use the diminished. And this is always the case that you can use, because in a 4-note chord, where you have 4 notes that are, or 3 notes that are the same, and one that is only a half step away, you can really use it to bend a little bit the harmonic rule and create some tension. Instead of playing A major, he plays A, I guess you could call it A sharp, or B flat diminished, or a 7 flat 9, either way. Okay, so And then, of course, the last note is going to be that F sharp, which is then resolving essentially to that E7. Right? So again, it's again nice and slowly that last part. So A, upstroke on B flat, open D. That's going to be B flat diminished, upstroke on B, pedal again, open D. That's going to be B minor, upstroke on C sharp, open D again, and then again here, B flat diminished. Right, so in tempo. And that is played all through that A. And that's just a beautiful thing that you can use in any key. Like, let's say I'm in C, right? It's quite simple at this point to transpose that whole idea and be able to then play it in other major keys. And that's the beauty of doing all these transcriptions, is that you can really take some ideas and also you can vary them, right? You can use them in a different way, right? If you're in A major, take the idea and play it in a different way or choose different chords, but you can adopt that same concept of the pedal note, open string pedal note, and chord by chord, the diatonic progression, as an example. And of course, again, remember that first part. It's very important in that first part of the phrase to really concentrate on where the upstroke is. To essentially be able to create fluidity in your playing, especially because the tune in this case it's really quite fast. So you want to be able to be loose throughout a passage like that and not tense up, and have your picking, your right hand and your picking needs to be on automatic where you're not thinking about it, but you're just executing it, normally without having. And of course, that's build that gradually, consistently, and be aware of your tension. If you feel tension, of course, slow down, and then you gradually work it up. And so that's off of Portocabello. Okay, those are the 3 licks for this week. I hope you enjoyed. I plan to hopefully keep doing this. It's fun for me. I do it for myself, so I do it for myself all the time. I've been doing it since I was a child, and it's for me primary and most fun way to work on my technique, increase my vocabulary, and get ideas for improvisation. And so hopefully this can be of use to any of you. Don't forget, I also again have these free Zooms because again I get a lot of questions about the transcriptions, and it's easier to just go live here and on Zoom and go through them, explain them, and if there's questions, answer them directly. And also, yes, check the description. There's also my latest ebook, which is Gypsy Jazz Guitar Mastery. It really goes through some foundational fundamentals that I consider really, really important to begin this journey of gypsy jazz guitar, let's just say on the right foot, or what I consider in my experience the right foot. I've been lucky enough to be around this music and be around many, many gypsies and legends of this music that I've been able to learn directly or indirectly, because a lot of them don't really have the not they can't really explain everything they know, but when you observe them and play with them long enough, you catch some things that they might overlook, but that are really important, especially for people that are coming from different guitar styles and different picking techniques, and trying to really make this comfortable. So that's Gypsy Jazz Guitar Mastery in the description. And again, if you want a written transcription, there's also the link to the written transcription of all these ideas, which some may or may not like. It's, I guess, you know, support if you need to figure out either a fingering or picking direction or anything like that. Uh, so hopefully those three things can be useful. Um, if you like the video, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. I'll see you in the next videos, whether here or on Zoom. But it's sunny outside. So, Paul, good to see you, and or I guess hear from you. Great. Thanks for tuning in. You're very welcome. And yeah, it's not the warmest day all of a sudden, but it's sunny outside. So, ciao. So I'm gonna go get some sun, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. All the very, very best. Ciao.